There's a new effort by left-wing Bernie supporters to convince people to suck it up and vote Joe, basically. This is pretty interesting. We can put the Politico report up there. This is rootsaction.org, and they said in a statement that our organization fought fiercely in the primaries for Bernie and against Biden, but the general election is far less about Biden than it is about Trump, the most dangerous president in modern U.S. history, who opposes virtually every policy and principle that progressives are fighting for. Some of the people involved, these are, true Bernie-type folks. Noam Chomsky, of course, we all know very well. Former Sanders surrogate Linda Sarsour, Sanders advisor Winnie Wong, Ro Khanna, Roseanne DeMoro, Medea Benjamin, and more. So these are like Bernie-type folks who've gotten on board with the effort. And they put out a new ad, and this is Noam Chomsky's voice that you'll hear. Let's take a listen to how they're approaching this.
The traditional left position is you don't vote for, you vote against. It doesn't matter how I feel. It doesn't matter whether you like Biden or not. That's your personal feelings, irrelevant. Nobody cares about that. What they care about is what happens to the world. Have to get rid of Trump, keep pressure on Biden, just as Sanders and associates have been doing. Politics is activism, not taking 5 minutes to push a button.
And I have to tell you, Emily, from my perspective, as a leftist who is very Bernie friendly, I think this is the best possible case you can make. Like, don't even try to make an affirmative case for Joe Biden. He's irrelevant, as Noam put it. It's irrelevant. The only thing that you can convince people of is, Trump, is really that bad. And so while this is not great, what we've ended up with, this choice, maybe this is the best that you can do. And also there's not a voter shaming element to it. It's just making the case that this is existential, and so suck it up and vote Joe.
It's hippies for Biden, which I don't say derisively. I think it's
hippies
great.
For Biden.
This is actually a good messaging campaign in favor of voting against Donald Trump, not voting for Joe Biden, as you said. And this is populist that understands the sort of cost-benefit analysis that voters are thinking through. And it's one of those things that can actually get somebody off the couch, right? That can actually get that Bernie supporter off the couch and say, you know what, it's worth me going in there, sucking it up, voting for Joe Biden, because all of the other messages coming from the Democratic establishment in favor of Joe Biden, they're not going to move the needle with those people. If anything, they're going to make them sit harder on the couch.
Yeah, dig in their heels.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the messaging has just been terrible, I think, from the Democratic establishment towards those people that, let's be honest, that's who you need to turn out. If those people do not turn out in Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, I don't know what you're going to do.
Well, and look, it's been really interesting. The polls, obviously, Biden is up by quite a bit. And I think his team has a sense of these young people, we don't really need them. Forget it. They're hard to turn out. They don't get excited. We're not going to excite them. We're not even really going to try. We'll say FDR a couple times, but that's really the best we're going to do. But I think your point is really important, not just for this election, but for the future of the Democratic Party. Gen Z, certainly, and millennials are supposed to be the future of the party, not to mention the rising black and brown working class. Those are all the areas where Biden is the weakest.
Yes.
And so, no, I don't think a lot of young people are going to vote for Trump. I think very few will actually affirmatively vote for Trump. Are they going to show up at all? That's really the question. And so I completely agree with you. This effort understands the target audience. They actually have a feel for what kind of messaging could be persuasive, isn't condescending, respects their values, respects their complete antipathy to Joe Biden and how he really, in a lot of ways, stands against everything that they support. I mean, the Sunrise Movement gave him an F on his environmental plan. He's since upped his game a bit, so I don't know what the new rating is. He doesn't support Medicare for all. The idea that he's any sort of an ally on criminal justice reform is absurd, right? Activists are out there defund the police, and he's actually more funding for the police, right? So, he architected mass incarceration. You can't pretend these things don't exist. And we covered here the other day on the show this other left effort to get people to vote for Biden called Settle for Biden, which has a great tagline and is hilarious, right? Settleforbiden.org is their thing. But once I started to dig into all their memes, this feels more of the Noam Chomsky effort feels like a Bernie world-driven effort. The Settle for Biden effort feels very Warren-y. Yeah. It's very sort of liberally. Some of their memes are restore decency to the White House. And they actually have, this one's so offensive to me. They have a meme with a picture of Joe that says, let's elect someone who cares about racial justice. are you kidding me? Like, have you looked at this man's record? So to me, while Settle for Biden has a very good tagline, a sort of hilarious tagline, very, I'd love to have a bumper sticker with it kind of a thing, the actual approach seems to completely miss the mark in terms of who you need to persuade.
That's the thing. They're not in on the joke, right? Like, they don't seem to get that Settle for Biden is actually a hilarious tagline that can actually galvanize people to be like, well, that's funny, and I kind of get it, right? Like, we do need to settle for the guy. Instead, it does feel like, so lame. I mean, these are like boomer memes.
They've got one on here, do it for RBG.
Do it for RBG. I mean, you couldn't make that up.
It's not winning me over, guys.
It's too good. Well, one thing, by the way, about that Chomsky ad, and this is something that, like, I remember being at Netroots in 2017 and looking at, like, someone like Randy Bryce. I think that Chomsky ad is really interesting because it doesn't just appeal to the white working class, it appeals to the working class across the board, right? Like, coming together with a working class message that isn't just, for that white steel worker that everyone talks about so much in Ohio. It's something that, like, it's just people who are working class who care about getting Donald Trump out of office. Those are the people you need to reach. And so I think that's a really important part of that ad.
Well, and the central focus of the ad, and we didn't play so much, you should go and watch the whole thing. By the way, it's well done, it's worth looking at, but they really focus in on climate change, which is obviously, it was in the Democratic primary, everything has changed now, but the number one issue for young voters was climate change. And so they honed in on the issue that is most important. They make an existential case. They don't try to turn Joe Biden into some hero of the movement.
Yep.
And so I actually think it's, the most effective effort, at least I have seen so far, in terms of trying to, and with trusted voices. I mean, Noam Chomsky carries a lot of weight among leftists and among the Bernie left. So there you go.
They need to get Susan Sarandon in one.
Well, she's so powerful. Like, she totally threw the election last time.
It's
so
amazing.
I think they're, like, worried about playing with fire there because she says one wrong thing and is all over.
My God, can you imagine the power that Susan Sarandon could wield?
All right, well, I have more Rising for you after this.